Welcome to episode 113 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Brian. We are two artists, illustrators, filmmakers, and all-round shit talkers. And each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, Amazon Prime, YouTube. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we are primarily talking about the new Spider-Verse movie, as well as the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix, and a couple other nerds things that pop up along the way. It's our first time seeing Brian in a while, or having Brian on in a while. He's been very busy, so we talked to him about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom also. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to Spotify, heading over to iTunes, rating, reviewing, liking, subscribing. All of these good things really help us out. On top of that, you can head over to Instagram at The Endless Cast, where we put up art and clips to go with each episode. And that's a good place to send us a message, suggest something for us to watch, disagree with our opinions. Just get in touch over there if you want. Also, you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com if you want to go that route. All of that being said, let's get into the episode.
Episode 113. Here we are. We're back again. How you doing, Brian?
Hello. I'm back.
We haven't seen you in a little bit. You've been a busy boy.
A little busy.
A little busy. You've got a new job. It's taken up some time. Are you enjoying it?
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's great.
Yes.
We'll say as little as much about that as you want to.
Yeah. I'm working with lovely people doing meaningful work, which is always good. So the people are nice and the work is nice, which is nice. Yeah.
Cool. And it's still around loads of dogs, which is great fun.
Still around lots of dogs. Yep. That's the essential part. Dogs are good. Dogs are essential. We love dogs.
And you did a little a house swap with Kevin for a couple of days there.
I did.
How was that?
Met Bug, as I like to call her.
Bug.
Little bug.
Did you get up to anything while you were in Dublin?
No. Well, I mean, I went back to the Royal Oak, which used to be my local. It's good to see it still exists. It's good. I don't know how long they've been doing ham and cheese toasties, but they're doing them now. And I had one, and that was great.
Nice.
That was great. I don't normally eat a lot of ham, but you can't really beat a ham and cheese toasty, a bag of crisps, and a pint of Guinness. Does it get better than that? Yeah, it does. Is that really good? Yes, it is. It's great. It's still great.
That's pretty good stuff.
It's good. It was a nice sunny day. I had plenty of time to get my train. And I was like, yeah, this is good. This is nice.
Very nice.
So yeah, that was about it. I bought a case for my Switch. I've had my Switch since 2018. So I've had it for 5 years. I do not ever take it anywhere with me. I bought a case for it just so I could bring it to Dublin so I could play Zelda. Because I'm only able to play that really on weekends, because every time I play it, I end up playing it for fucking 10 hours at a time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I usually don't start until 7 or 8 o'clock, which means when I'm playing it for 9 or 10 hours at a time, it's 3:30 before I turn it off. Which means I cannot play it on a weeknight. I have played it on a weeknight. It was very foolish. So yeah, I've only really
not
been
as
able to
productive
play it.
a weekday.
I've only really been able to play it on like Fridays and Saturdays. So yeah, that's what I did up in Dublin. Really was me and Bjog. Bjog was happy to watch me play Zelda for about 10, 12 hours. You notice the time is creeping up now.
So we haven't. Yeah, I did. It's like if you started at 7, why would you stop at 3? Why didn't you just go to 7 a.m.? You know, that's just symmetry.
I don't think I've actually done that though. To be fair, I think the
No?
latest
Okay.
I've gone is 4:45, probably.
Okay.
But even
time
then,
did
I
you
don't think
start
I don't think I've played it for more than 10 hours at a time because it's
Okay.
yeah, my eyes get a bit tired.
So we haven't talked to you since that game came out, though, have we? I don't think we have.
We haven't. No, it came
So,
out on a
Brian,
Friday, and I didn't get to play it properly until like the day it came out. I didn't play it until again. It's probably 8 o'clock that evening, which is bullshit. So finished work at 5, went in town, picked it up. By the time I got back and had dinner, it was like 8 o'clock. I was like, this is crazy. This game has been out since this
whole goddamn
morning,
day.
a whole day, and I haven't played it yet. This is some bullshit. 14-year-old me would not be standing for it. It's great. It's really good. It's
so you were unsold.
Yeah, and I
When last you saw it.
remain unsold on it, to be honest. On parts of it. It's very impressive what they've done in terms of the building and stuff. It's crazy. It's very deep. It is physics based. So if you can come up with something, it gives you so many tools to make that thing a reality. I've seen what people have done with all the tools and stuff it provides. They've done crazy stuff. And the thing is, I have no interest in playing it that way. I'm impressed. I'll watch a 30-second video of this fucking laser beam homing mech thing that somebody has made using parts in, like, there's a part you can get. There's a portable little pot for cooking, right? So, but it's a pot shape, almost like a wok or something, right? So it's kind of a semicircle dome shape. And one of the mechanics in the game is you can attach things to other things. The pot is intended for a single-use cooking of items, but people realize, well, the shape it is, we can actually use this as a ball and socket joint on things.
Oh,
and
right,
it works. It works. It works as a ball and socket joint. So whether you want to make an arm or whether you just want to link up a bunch of carts or something, it works. And that's crazy. And it's really fun in the scenarios where there's these kind of shrine quests or little puzzle things where it gives you a little clue. It's like, this obstacle is based on this principle or this device or something. And it could be just buoyancy. It could be, here's a ball in water. It bounces. What ways can you make that bounce to achieve this objective? And here's a bunch of items around you. And you can build anything you want with those to try achieve, whatever the puzzle might be. And that's really fun in those instances, going, okay, they've given me a fan and a big long piece of wood and a hot air balloon and a flamethrower, so I can use the flamethrower to create heat under the balloon. That's fun. But then in the actual game world, I don't really have any interest in doing that stuff unless it's tied to a specific puzzle. But a lot of people seem to be having a lot of fun
just building
shit, and it's cool, and I'm impressed, and it's awesome. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. So it's impressive that they've done it. It's fucking cool. It's amazing, the depth of it. It's just not a part of the game I'm ever really going to engage with. The odd time that I do, so like there's caves you can explore, and it's easier to get around the cave sometimes, build a vehicle. So you'll walk past this little depot with a bunch of building materials, and there'll be a bunch of wheels and slabs, so you can build a car. It's powered by fans. You can put a headlamp and stuff on it. It's like, oh, there's rockets, so if I want to go a bit faster, I can attach rockets and stuff on it. And you spend 5 or 10 minutes just making something up on the spot, and that's fun, going, where will I put the rocket? And then well, if I put the rocket too far left or right, it's going to steer it in the wrong direction. So this fun of figuring out placing stuff. You can spend 10 or 15 minutes doing that as a little diversion. But then when you actually switch the thing on, it doesn't work the way you kind of expected. It's funny, and you go, okay, well, fuck that. I'm not wasting another 15 minutes. I'm trying to get over to that thing over there, and there's a river of lava. I can just glide across it. I don't need to create a vehicle across it. I diverted myself 15 minutes. That was fun. It didn't work. Moving on. Whereas other people will go, I'm trying that again. And like I said, I've seen them do cool shit, but it's just, I can only play it on Friday and Saturday, really. I'm not going to waste
I watched a video of a guy trying to ring a bell as loud as you could, and the amount of solutions he came up with for like hitting it with a long sort of like fulcrumed arm, launching something up under it, launching something above it, and dropping it down on top of it. Like it looks like a lot of fun, or watching it's a lot of fun, but like I've never. It's like it reminds me a bit of GTA, when people just start playing with the physics engines in GTA 4 and 5 especially, and they've got a little bit of builder and sort of game mode modding, and like people build worlds in that thing, and you know, it's fun to watch. It's hilarious to watch it, but like I do not have the time. I'm very like plot focused.
Yeah, I saw a funny one of people trying the same thing. There's a long stretch of water you're trying to pass, and you've had maybe two or three obstacles before it that are similar, where you're using a fan and a thing to float across this kind of body of water. And then you get to the next one, you're like, okay, well, this is longer than the other few. And the way they've set it up, because they've made you attach like a long rectangular piece, whether it's wood or, you know, metal slab, to some type of mill or wheel, you know. Okay. So it's using water pressure, it's turning, it's doing a bunch of stuff. So it definitely wants you to think, oh, can I attach these pieces to make a fan to propel myself across the water? And I've seen a bunch of people try the same thing, where they have a slab of concrete or wood, and they've attached these wheels on the side of it, so they wanted to like propel them forward, but they're moving at different speeds. Because they're moving at different speeds, it just sort of flips them up into the air, and it doesn't work. So like a lot of people kind of saying, you know, like, you know, I've made a calculated guess, but I'm bad at maths, like that kind of thing. But I eventually got to that shrine, and like I said, it definitely gears you towards, why don't you build a type of propeller and see if that'll get you across? But I was like, I can also just stick 3 of these things together and make a bridge. Yeah. And I did. I just made a bridge and ran across. You know, less fun, but also it's like, yeah, I don't have time. I don't have time.
Do you think that does anything to a generation of little kids?
Oh, for sure.
With a giant physics simulator in front of them? Especially the engineering minded.
Yeah, I don't see how it can't, you know.
Yeah.
I saw as well, like there's a device I only just found, and it's a little kind of, it's a thing on a thread, right? So it's kind of a conveyor belt thread, and it's almost like a Roomba. It just detects enemies and it goes off and it searches for them. And then it's up to you to attach an offensive thing on it. Or you could put a shield on it and use it as a little mobile defense thing. Or you can put a flamethrower on it and it'll home in on enemies and shoot them. But I saw somebody instead flip them upside down. So the thread part, it's now like a conveyor belt, and they've fused a bunch of them together.
Right.
So they've essentially got a conveyor belt.
Okay.
And then they built a structure around it, and they got a load of chickens from the game and put the chickens in this big enclosed thing with a conveyor belt thing underneath. And then when you kind of frighten the chickens in the game, they lay eggs. And they activate the machine. The chickens get afraid. They've got about 10 of them, and now they start laying eggs, and they come down the conveyor belt, and the guy is underneath, and he crawls underneath and just collects the eggs. And you can sell the eggs in the game for money. So he's now got this industrialized farming setup for like literally farming eggs for money. He built a chicken coop with a conveyor belt that delivers eggs to him, and he just crouches underneath and collects eggs, and it lays about like 20 eggs a minute or something, which you can sell. I was just like, that is not how they intended it, but because it obeys the rules of the game, it works and it's viable, and yeah, you can do it. And it's like, what the fuck is this game? Yeah.
So what do you think of, like, I guess there's a Minecraft comparison?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, but with Minecraft seems to be more about building and less physics oriented. Whereas the you can build stuff in this, but it's much more about how will it interact with this other thing.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. What was the game? I'm blanking now. The PlayStation, they released 2 or 3 of them with Sackboy, and there was physics and
Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet with Stephen Fry's voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Mario Maker as well. They introduced sort of level building kind of thing as well. Like this kind of more sandboxy builder thing. I know Little Big Planet isn't Nintendo,
modular
but
sandbox
like
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo being sort of tiptoeing.
It's a bit Fortnite as well, you know. Yeah. A bit Fortnite as well in terms of building. It's cool. It's very impressive what they've done.
But is it still single player, self-contained world, like, or do you think Nintendo are aiming at a sort of like free to play
I think they'll
model?
I think they'll keep Zelda, but they can use what works in it in another game for sure. You know, maybe put it in Animal Crossing or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't. Nintendo don't have, but I can see how it would be appealing to get like some big open world thing that they can just sell hats and skins and things like a Fortnite and make a fortune, you know?
Yeah, Animal Crossing.
Is that what that is? I've not played it.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, you sort of, you build a house on a location and then you just buy cosmetic stuff.
All right, I take it all back. Nintendo know what they're doing and they're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Well, I was just woken up in Chicago, and I was yesterday visiting a friend at her place of work called the Ice Cream Museum of Ice Cream. It was fun going out. It's a very, like, what do you call it? Kind of like an Instagram trap for people to show up and get like shots at like interesting, you know, wall of mirrors and then lots of kids and lots of sugar, and you go in and you get handed an ice cream, and then in like every room there's a different ice cream thing. Saoirse chastised me because I forgot to try the hot dog ice cream, which is their specific thing.
I think you made the right call there.
Which is ice cream that tastes like hot dogs. And
that sounds awful.
I tell you, it doesn't sound great, but I did kind of go, I should have tried the thing. But so we went around the various rooms and we looked at all the toys and stuff, and it's cool, and it's a nice little like thing in the middle of the city center, and they got a cocktail bar in there that's all ice cream and candy based cocktails. They're a bit sugary, and when I say a bit sugary, they're very, very sugary, and too sugary for me, I'm afraid. But we had 2 of them, and it was a gorgeous day in downtown Chicago, and I haven't walked around down there yet, so it was great to actually go down there. When we got to the ice cream museum, there was some promo thing going on outside of it where they were just like giving out free champagne and macaroon. So we gave them our email addresses and then got free champagne and macaroons in the sun. And
that's okay.
It really is like that. Like, it's a stunning city. It really is, down by that river. Walking around where the Dark Knight happened. We went to the Hancock building, and I think the Signature Lounge is what it is, and sat by the window staring out over the crazy skyline. The Hancock building is the one Chris recommended because I think he said everyone goes to the Sears Tower because it's the famous one, but this one's kind of just as good, and you can see the Sears Tower from it, and you're not queuing for hours and hours and hours. And given that I had no huge drive to climb the Sears Tower, this was, it's grand. And yeah, it was stunning. Then we found a couple of divey bars in the middle of Chicago and met Saoirse, went to this Irish bar that her friend works at, and called it a night. But it was a long old day of sugar and Guinness. So I'm a little sleepy this morning, but not too bad. We did get home. Little sleepy, just mainly because, it's early here, more so than I stayed out late and drinking a lot. But it was a fun day. It was a fun day. But I guess the key thing is this week we both seem to have seen Across the Spider-Verse. Did you rewatch Into the Spider-Verse coming up to this?
No, but I'd seen it recently enough, I think. Probably within a couple of months, I think.
Well, I am thumbs up for Across the Spider-Verse.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I have some nitpicks though,
Cool. Well, let's be wholly positive to begin with, because I too
fantastic.
It's great. It's great. It's a roller coaster for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Just kicks off and starts going, and it levels up the visual style stuff. Like, it's actually funny. I did watch Into the Spider-Verse. No, is it called Into the Spider-Verse? First one.
Yep.
Yeah. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I watched that like the day after I saw Across the Spider-Verse, and it's so funny that like, okay, one of them's a pig, but like they all kind of fit the same visual style and world, and they definitely, like, I mean, I guess at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, where we see him go back to 1967, and he's in that animated like rudimentary one where the style breaks that much. That's our first cue for what Across the Spider-Verse is going to be, because the first sort of anomaly we see, or first person from outside of Gwen's universe, is a completely different drawing style. It's almost pencil based and cut out, and like the whole movie it's just leveled up so much in terms of I'm saying leveled up 1,000 times, but I'm not quite sure how to put it. Like looking at Lego, looking at
I love that
motion.
visually, but narratively, it's confusing, and it's kind of one of the, like, I'm all for it in the moment watching it. It's fun, but I think it pulls me out a little bit, and I have questions about it, and then it kind of leads me to one of my nitpicks is that it's great that there's more diverse styles and unique as they hop from universe to universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hope they rein it in a little bit for the next one. I like that it's sort of anything goes, kitchen sink, but I do think you need to peel it back a little. It's kind of overwhelming. It's overstimulating. It's confusing. Is the Vulture from a universe where they're made of paper? Like, what does that mean? What I loved about the first one is that it has this cool style, and then it has these flashes, these kind of stylistic things that I assumed were just stylistic flourishes. So when like Miles is running along and he jumps and it suddenly flashes into a kind of a pop art type thing, I don't think he's changing reality. It's just like a stylistic flourish, like slow motion. Somebody goes from looking a particular way to, pop art, Liechtenstein kind of dots or something, like bold colors.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening in the moment there. Like, he's not jumping across reality. Well, I assumed he's not. He might.
No, it's a filmmaking tool.
It's a filmmaking tool. It's a little flash. It's a little flourish.
Right.
But then in this one, Vulture looks like a Da Vinci drawing, and that's cool. Mm-hmm. But then they talk about the fact that he's actually made out of parchment. It's like, how is that? Was that a joke? Is it just because he's from a different dimension, he looks different to them? Or is he actually from a universe made of paper and drawings? And what?
I think he's from a universe made of paper and drawings.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay.
That's it. It's fine to do a Spider Pig with cartoon stuff, but like, how is he so strong if he's made of paper? Like, there's just too many questions. It's just it breaks too much, I think.
Right.
For me, I like it stylistically, but you're saying now that, okay, there's things made of paper, and like how does Gwen then appear to Miles? Does she look like, is he saying, hey, you're made of watercolors, but he's got no questions about that. Like, how does that work? Like it's if it's just a stylistic thing where it's a way to differentiate different things from different universes, I'm all for it. But if they're actually saying, like, what are they saying? Like, what are they saying? What does that mean? What are the implications of that?
I don't think they're presenting you anything that I don't think they expect you to look at the implications of the.
I don't think you can introduce it with. I think it's bad storytelling in what is an otherwise good story to introduce something like that.
Okay, we go to like a world that is like live action Lego in there.
But that's my point. But that's the thing. I always assumed that it was just a visual thing to help us distinguish between different universes.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense. It has to make sense on some level. Everything everywhere all at once is kitchen sink kind of mentality, but it makes sense on a certain level.
But okay, let me think about this, because I don't know that I have the example.
How like why? Gwen
is there an animated is there
Gwen's
a painting
sky
version?
Gwen's background sky is all like acrylic and watercolors and stuff, right? The weirdest thing when she would go to another universe wouldn't be, oh, there's another Spider-Man or there's another powers and stuff. It would be like, oh wow, what's up your sky?
Her world is emotionally reactive.
But that's what I mean. But
yeah.
But I've always assumed that it was just a thing to
stylistic
visually distinguish one world from the next. But when she goes to Miles' world, like straight away, your biggest question would be, "Hey, what's up with your sky? Why doesn't your sky change color with?" Because it's not that. It's a style. It's a visual stylistic thing. So they need to pick which one it is.
I think it's the real things.
What do you mean?
Well, I know that this is.
Does she come from a universe where the sky changes color
yes.
when your mood changes? Yeah, so the next thing, when you jump to a universe, you wouldn't give a shit about the fact that there's a dude with portals in his stomach. You'd be like, how come your sky doesn't change color when your mood changes?
But, okay, I understand. I'm with you.
That's bigger than anything else going on in the film, because everything else they just accept.
But they can she not just accept that and then focus on getting back to her own world?
But she's not about getting back to her own world. She's part of this spider cop force.
Well, we're talking the first one where she,
I'm talking about my problem with this one is that in the first,
Nicolas Cage's Spider Noir was baffled by color,
Yeah, but I
staring at the Rubik's Cube. What is this?
I assumed in the first one that's a throwaway gag for the purpose.
No, I assumed he came from a black and white world and was baffled by color.
Yeah, that I don't like that. That doesn't
okay.
work. You can't just. You have to create a context for the world and your story, and you can break it now and then for a joke. But if you're saying no, this is actually how this universe works, then you're breaking all of it then, and it doesn't.
But then, how did you feel about Peter Porker being very much a Looney Tunes pig that could manifest things from like negative physics, like he could just pull out an anvil out of his pocket?
Hammer space. Yeah. Which they make a reference to, that's what I'm saying. They explain it. They explain it in universe.
Hold on. Why do I know the phrase hammer space?
Because it's in the film. It's in Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
But it's from anime.
Yeah. Where's the moment in Across the Spider-Verse?
Vulture.
So, I can pull things from, yes, because his arm gets pulled off or something, or his tech gets pulled out.
He just has a bottomless bag, and they can pull stuff out of it. But that makes sense in universe, that there is a technology or a magic or a science which it's a TARDIS, it's a bag of whatever it's called in D&D, but there's an in-universe explanation for that, where you can create spaces that are outside small but inside are infinite, right?
Okay.
But you're then also telling me that a dude made of paper, is he two-dimensional? How can he stand upright? Wouldn't he just be blown over? How is he such a... Why does it take 3 Spider-Mans? Why does it take 3 Spider-Mans to defeat a dude made of paper? They lose me at that point. And I went along with it. I was like, okay, but they lose me. They lose me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I could try and make arguments around
the argument
building
that, the
up
argument
walls
that,
of paper.
The argument that works for me in it is that it's just a visual thing. It's just when a thing from another universe comes into another universe, it appears different. Or it's just a fucking narrative tool where it's to communicate to us as the audience. It's 2 things. It's fun to imagine things in that style and to see it, so it's fun. And then 2, for the audience, it distinguishes. But when they're actually saying no, it's actually made of paper, you kind of lose me.
Okay.
It's too busy. It's too much.
So
Peter Parked car is fine as a gag, but don't overuse it. It's fine when.
But he's from a universe of Cars, right? Like the movie Cars.
Yeah, but it's also like, don't think about it too much. It's just a pun. It's funny. Move on. And I kind of I'll move on.
Right.
There's a limit, and there's a fucking waste to how many times you can make those kind of jokes, and I think they push it very far with this, and they kind of threaten to break the rest of it. It's kind of hard to give a shit about the end being as dramatic as it is if the rest of the film is as silly as it borders on being.
The breaking of it into 2 separate films is my, I guess, nitpick, because I do think that
I think they pulled that off, though,
I don't know. For some reason, I loved it and I want to see it again, but for some reason, I felt like I was going into this going, I'm just going to meet thousands of Spider-Men and get left on a cliffhanger. I didn't have a strong sense of the narrative, and I enjoyed that. And I don't know why I still kind of feel like that, because what they do with the villain is actually interesting, and I liked it, and I thought it gave the villain, like, what he went from being at the very start towards the end of it was really interesting. Where they left it was kind of fun. Well, not fun, but like interesting. I did feel like the first 15 minutes maybe is rehashing in longer form stuff we saw in the first movie. So it's like we could trim this down. Like there's a lot of like, let's reestablish Gwen, let's reestablish Miles. I feel like we could trim a lot of that. I don't know if you agree.
No, definitely.
I thought Miguel was cool.
Yep.
I like Spider-Man 2099 a lot. Like I was in that. I do remember at the time the little like comic books backlash. Like it was post-Clone Saga, and like there was Spider-Man 2099. I think there was Punisher 2099. I think there was a Conan 2099. Maybe Fantastic Four. Like the 2099 thing was a thing for a minute. But I do remember like there was something about, I mean, I guess that's why it's ballooned in the way that it has, but there is something versatile about the Spider-Man character that you can like redesign him over and over and over again, and it's fun and cool to watch and just go, this is a Spider-Man in this context, or a Spider-Man in this context, in a way that I don't think you could do with Fantastic Four or, you know, Captain America in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they've taken some swings at like, you know, there's US Agent and Bucky, Cap, and Falcon Cap, but like it's not ballooned to, you know, the Legion of Captains or whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to think if anything, like, again, it does kind of descend into like, here's the Spider Society, and I'm just thinking of like the Legion of Kangs and the what is it, the Fortress of Ricks or the Council of Ricks, like this idea of multiversal conflagration of all of the one instances of these people. I'm kind of, I don't know. They did it great. I was just sort of like, I think I've seen this too many times now, and I'm starting to get kind of annoyed by this idea of, you know, like, if ever, like, it's the like Rick and Morty have it very, like, they spent a lot of time wandering through that idea, you know. But like, if you've got a society of Ricks and they're all Rick and they're all lunatic psycho scientists that build portal guns, why are any of these Ricks running fast food joints to keep this society alive? You know what I mean? Why is anybody selling burgers in the society of Ricks? How does it... Do you know what I mean? Like, so we run past at one point, you know, like a psychiatrist talking to a Spider-Man. And it's, you know, a Spider-Man as a psychiatrist talking to a Spider-Man as a patient. And it's just like, it's a fun gag, as you say.
And that's the thing, that's where, if you're going to make that type of story, you get to make those kind of jokes, because that's the opportunity you give yourself. But it's also just a gag.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a gag. And you kind of, like, if you were to... You have that opportunity. And then the second you embrace that opportunity, you're kind of saying, in a way, nothing matters, because everything is going on here. So, and I mean, that's what Everything Everywhere All at Once is about. It's like, if everything matters, if everything's chaos, then why care about anything? And that's the conflict that, you know, her daughter has in the film. And then it's the conflict that, you know, if I could have been anything and I could have had all these other lives, then how do I have any meaning in this version of myself? And that's what I love about that film, is that it has a very grounded, centered human question and resolution in the middle of it, on top of being really silly. And then this, yeah, the second you start talking about anything can happen, anything is going on, so why does any of it matter? The second you introduce that, that's the risk you have. And yeah, you can make a funny Peter Parked car gag or have a spider therapist. You can also have a universe where stuff is made of paper, sure, but then you have to resolve some of those questions that you introduce, because otherwise, why care about any of it? So when you put something like that at the forefront, so the first thing is, yeah, like I said, Vulture is made out of paper. Like, I can accept him looking like the Vitruvian Man. And that really lends itself to, okay, he's an inventor, and, you know, I'm sure Da Vinci had stuff that looked like this. So what if this vulture looks like that?
Yeah.
Or what if he's a vulture from a Renaissance period? So we just draw him in a Renaissance style, but he's not actually made of paper.
Right?
I don't get that thing. And then the second part, like I said, with Gwen and her dad having that conversation, it makes sense stylistically or narratively to kind of show where their emotions are at as they're having this heart-to-heart that they need to have eventually. But it doesn't make sense for it to actually be happening literally.
Yeah.
And I think when they introduce too many of those styles all at once in the film, it's a little overwhelming. It's kind of hard to care about it, because it's... I love the kitchen sink approach. I don't want anybody to rein them in necessarily. But I think they themselves need to make some... If you throw everything to see what sticks, some of it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
And I think you need to then trim some of that stuff. Because not everything's going to land as well. And it does pull away from what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
I think. But I loved it also.
That's it.
You
know? I'm in that position.
Did love it.
I don't necessarily agree with you on that. I did just enjoy the ludicrous concept of like, yep,
Like,
he's paper, and
I-
try and wrap your head around how a 2-dimensional
I
object
did
fights
too
with a 3-dimensional.
at the time.
Yeah.
But thinking about it afterwards, I think because I've seen some people kind of say, yeah, I loved this, but I didn't love it, and I think that's my take on why some stuff doesn't land.
So, yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. That like, if I start trying to go, the moment I see he's a 2D person, my brain starts going, how does a 2D object engage?
Yeah, and
with a
again,
3D
I
object?
didn't
But I
entertain
throw
that
thought
part
away
at the,
very quickly. Yeah.
When I'm watching it, I did exactly the same. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's go along with it.
But you come out of it over time and think that is a question that should have been examined.
Not that it should be examined. I think the film is overlong, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think when you've got that kitchen sink approach and you're throwing everything, and not everything's going to stick,
Right.
you got to cut some stuff. And then somewhere along the way, I think, hey, yeah, you know what? Maybe it doesn't need that line about that, or maybe this scene is too long because the whole point of this scene is that we're changing colors and things. And it's like, actually, maybe it could be simpler, you know?
So do you think, like, if that scene, she just hadn't said, hey, you're made of paper, would you have just been like, it's fine, I will accept my own interpretation of what's happening here?
Yeah. Because that's what I was doing in the first film anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
It's just...
So one of the things that got pointed out to me after the fact, and there's loads of stuff getting pointed out to me after the fact.
What's going through Miles's head when he sees a live action person? Is Miles also a cartoon? Because they make a comment about Spider Pig being, or Spider Ham or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Mixing up. They make a comment about him being a cartoon. It's like, but you're a cartoon. Do you not see yourself as a cartoon? And then when he's seeing a flashback from the other films, or he's seeing a character who's human, why is that? Like that would inspire. That would be a fucking existential crisis. You're like, hold on, am I not what like?
Yeah.
Because they're 2D as well. You know.
Yeah.
It like.
I know exactly. I know what you're saying.
It just breaks. It's straining already, and it's just working just about because it's like, don't think about it too long, move on, which I did.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, when you're kind of thinking about it,
but you're putting yourself in the shoes of the character, going, why isn't his mind breaking every time he sees a reality defying?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's what you got to do when you're.
And the I guess the key suspension of disbelief for the thing is he just accepts that every iteration from a different universe could be anything.
Like, why care about somebody who's dead in one universe being alive in another, or dead in another, when it's all happening all at once? You know, those are things you kind of do have to think about from a story perspective. Right?
Why care about someone who's alive in one universe? Sorry, how do you mean? Like, of course he's going to care about his father, even if a version of his father's dead in another universe.
Yeah, but when you throw this when you throw everything at something, right? You can't break reality without breaking your character's mind. Why would your character care about a very grounded, deep thing, when you've just shown them that there are things beyond your own consciousness and reality? Right?
Yeah.
You're saying like the.
I know. I think I know what you're like. I think I do know what you're referring to in terms of like the what's presented to him. But like it like seeing a version of a world where his father's dead makes him, you know, you see a possibility that relates to you and your father, right? Like it makes you want to protect what he has and not allow this reality to occur in his own, right? Like, am I off on what we're talking about?
When somebody takes psychedelics, right, and they hallucinate other versions of possibility and consciousness, right? It rewires your brain in a way. It makes them kind of go, why do I care about that when I have felt the possibility of there being something so far beyond my own perception, right? Or it induces psychosis where people go, oh my God, why am I worrying about a fucking who knows what when reality broke for me a couple of hours ago, and is any of this even real?
Right.
Okay. And now you take a character and you show them like 100%, no question, no hallucinogenic, no psychedelic. There's a universe where we're all fucking cars and our names are puns. Fine for a gag, but why would anybody care about anything when? Why?
I mean, look, all right, maybe this isn't the best analogy, but like, you know, we know that the human race has been around for X amount of thousand years. The planet's been around for 65 million years. You've got 80 to do anything in this world. Why give a shit about anything here anyway? None of it matters. It's the blink of an eye geologically. Why should we care about our own existences? And I think rationally you go...
But the thing there is that's just a number that we know. That's a piece of information we know. That's not a thing we can feel, right? Like that's so far removed from us. Like 2 years ago is so far removed from our mentality and consciousness. You tell me we've been around for 300,000 years or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, fine. It doesn't really affect my day to day. But if you rip me from one universe and put me in another, and I am confronted, and there's no denying, there's no changing the channel. You have literally shown me something beyond my own physical reality.
Sure.
And then when part of that is bonkers things like the sky changes color when I'm having a conversation with my dad, or there's dudes made of paper or whatever. Why would your character care about the mundane when there is so much fantastical going on around them? There's bigger questions. It'd be like if God fucking reached through the skies, ripped you out, and had you in the palm of his hand, and was like, "This is how I made the world." And there's other worlds, and there's all these other worlds where you're a fucking cat or a car or something, and you're going, "But what about my dad? My dad, though, like, it's like I've just shown you. I've lifted the veil. I've peeled back the inner workings of reality, and you're still worrying about what you're going to have for dinner." It doesn't make sense.
I hear you. I guess you're just the version of Peter Parker that gets very caught up in the workings of the
caught up.
Miles has shit to do.
I think I'm getting back seeing to the bigger picture. I'm not getting caught. They're getting caught up in the little minutia. I'm seeing the fucking whole picture.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. You're right the way I phrase it. You are the transcendent individual within Spider Society.
Yeah, thanks.
That sees the whole picture.
There we go.
And
better.
We'll change the universe. One of the things that got pointed out to me is that we don't hear Nicolas Cage in this one. But we do have Andy Samberg doing his Nicolas Cage impression, which is very funny. I didn't quite twig that at the time.
I've also heard nobody else say this but me, and it's got me wondering, am I reading into a line, or I don't think I'm reading. Gwen's telling Miles about Miguel, and she's explaining that he's like part vampire or something.
Yeah.
And Miles says, a good guy vampire, or a vampire who's a hero, I'd pay good money to see that. That's a Morbius gag, right?
It's a Morbius gag. Okay.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It must be.
Right, I hear you.
But I've heard nobody else
it must be.
point it. It has to
be. It has to be. You're spot on.
Yeah.
Because we've got the...
I don't think we even see them. I think they're swinging, so I don't think the cameras are even on their faces. So it's kind of like an ADR kind of line.
Yeah.
And it's a vampire who's also a hero. It says like, I'd pay good money to see that, and then it cuts to the next thing. It's like that. that's got to be a Morbius gag.
That's kind of funny, yeah. Sony,
I laughed, but I was the only person.
Are definitely shoehorning in every version of everything that they've got into it, to build their little universe. Look, all in all, I
loved it. I loved
it.
I'm just kind of calling back to when we first heard about Into the Spider-Verse. I remember all of us kind of being really apprehensive because Sony didn't have the best track record.
Yeah.
And then the first trailer for it came out and it looked great. And then in that trailer, there's the shot of, it's either the shot of him jumping across the subway tracks or when he makes contact with the car and when he touches the side of the car, when the art style changes completely. I think we all saw that and went,
holy
wow, this is fucking cool. And him touching the car and it changing for just a couple of frames. No, none of us were thinking it's just a visual stylistic thing.
Yeah.
And it's cool. And I'm glad they threw in more of it. But now they're saying that those things, they're beyond visual. They are actual universes and stuff. And I would just leave it. I hope they dial it back a little bit for the next one.
So
without being restrictive, just kind of like throw it all in, and then after it's done, cut it down.
Yeah, I don't think that's
as opposed. It's not. No, it's not at all. They're making them back to back. So
they're making them back to back. They're just rolling through them. Like they probably got through. They got this one kind of finish, and they're like, they're at the halfway point. They're hitting their stride.
It's just it gets. If you're not careful, that approach, you end up with a Love and Thunder.
Yes. Okay. Great. A great example and a warning, a cautionary tale. I guess given that they,
I don't think the next one will be that because I think I said
back
and I really did love it. Like I think it's a 10 out of 10 still.
Yeah.
Despite being too long and maybe too much bit of excess, I still absolutely love it. I think the next one's going to be great. Mm-hmm. But I think if they were to then make, and not just Sony, but just I think if you were to make other stuff and follow that approach, there's a point where you're doing too much,
Yeah. I watched a video with a guy, I can't remember the name of his company, but he works on he creates shaders for 3D software, and he worked on Spider-Verse creating, the toon shaders that allow to render, drawn line and bitmap and what do we call that? The dots,
the halftone stuff
that you put down, the halftone stuff. So he said that since Spider-Verse, basically everything that he's worked on has some version of this hand-drawn vibe at work. So like Spider-Verse very much opened the door. So, and he says the next 5 years of animated work that he's got lined up is stuff with this. I saw the trailer for the Disney movie Wish, and you can see it there. You can see that at play. Watch it yourself just to have a look at it. It's not working there for me at all. It doesn't look... There's one shot in particular where it's very Disney princess story, at least in the trailer, whatever the movie becomes, whatever, but it looks very trad Disney princess story. There's a girl on a balcony. She's got a little goat friend, but the goat, because of the way it's rendered, looks like a hand-drawn Who Framed Roger Rabbit character next to a CG character. And it does feel like they're trying to use this 2D render tool set to get close to their 90s, 2D roots. And I don't know that that's necessarily what they should be doing with this. They're reaching back for an aesthetic, I think. And it looks like, when you see a Disney, like, those little Golden Spine illustrated books for kids that are like the tie-in to the movies. In places it looks like those sort of like, and those are always cute, but they're always like not on model to the film that they came from, and they're slightly simpler style and they're cutesier. And I look at this trailer for Wish and I'm like, yeah, I can see you got the tool set. I don't think you've landed on something cohesive here. because these things aren't sitting well together. Maybe it looks good when it's still, but once it starts moving, it doesn't look great. So I think it's a thing where like there's a whole new tool set and people are experimenting, and some of it's going to work and some of it isn't. By comparison, there's a trailer for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which looks great. I don't know if you've seen that trailer. Again, whatever the movie becomes is that, but like in terms of picking an aesthetic and an art style and using the tool set, it looks great. And I actually haven't followed Seth Rogen's animated feature career since Sausage Party. Like, did he go away from Sausage Party and go, okay, I've learned how to make an animated film, now I need to learn how to make them look well?
Did they start paying their animators?
That's a good question. Start paying for quality, because that Sausage Party movie looked like dog shit.
Well, it wasn't even how that looked. It was just the fact that they didn't pay those people.
Oh yeah, I know, but like, look, pay your staff, pay your employees, hire designers that work well.
You kind of reminded me of like another thing, as you were saying, just about like the drawings and stuff, where like back to Across the Spider-Verse, and then we'll move on. But like Miguel.
Yeah.
So the characters pointed out that Vulture's made of paper, made of parchment or whatever. But Miguel has construction lines, like drawing lines.
Yeah.
And nobody's going, you're drawing, you know. Because it's not, because it's not, he's not a drawing.
He does, doesn't he?
He's got loads of construction lines. Yeah. And like sometimes they're like the lines extending past, you know, if he's in profile and stuff, it's extending. But they just ignore that. Because he's not.
Call out Hobie?
I can't remember. But the thing is, he's not a drawing. It's just a stylistic thing. Right? But that's my problem, is that you can't pick and choose when the stylistic thing is the reality, or when the stylistic thing is just a visual, you know, thing to.
Well, here's the
because
thing.
like Hobie's based on like punk posters and Camden and that whole culture. So it's a visually entertaining. I know, but that's the thing. It's like when I'm watching it,
you're turning me.
But
no, because I just remember the end of Into the Spider-Verse, when we see Spider-Man 2099 hit that Amazing Spider-Man universe, he becomes that aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
He then looks like a 60s cartoon, but we don't see Miles land in Gwen's universe and become a Gwen character. We don't see...
Yeah.
Like, if that's the case, Punk Spider-Man should land in a shared universe and become Miles style.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well...
Like, by all means do it, but don't draw attention to it. Don't set a rule for it. Don't set a rule for it. Just have it. Hobie looks like punk posters. He's not actually a poster.
Yeah.
But the second then that a character
points
it out and calls it out.
Yeah.
And assuming they mean it literally, which I think they did, then you're just breaking. You're breaking too much, I think. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
Not that I've convinced you.
You actually fucking did. God damn it. Now I'm questioning the whole universe. So I don't have a huge amount left. We hit the hour mark just there in the recording, and I have to stop just after 9. One of the other things I watched this week is the Arnold documentary on Netflix. I just put that on while I was working. I was surprised to see that it's 3 specific episodes. I just thought I was getting a documentary rather than like a 3-episode miniseries thing. Have you any interest in that? Not
really. No. I might check it out, but I kind of feel like I know everything I need to know about him.
I think that's kind of like he has reached a position like a Bruce Lee kind of thing for me growing up, where, you know, I'm kind of fascinated by him for a 6-month period and I learn all this stuff, and then he just exists as this iconic kind of presence in pop culture. And growing up with Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and the media machine that he was, I know most of the stuff that happens in this. There's some lovely photography It's nice seeing them together. He does touch on, I was kind of unsure if they would. Look, it's a very friendly documentary. They're not digging into too much. They do go into the women that showed up during his electoral campaign. They talk about the infidelity that broke the marriage up, and then Joseph, the son. But it's all very...
it's all pretty sanitized. It's all stuff that he's
that's the way. Yeah, he's talking about it in a way that he's happy to talk about it, and they move on from it. But then at the same time, I don't know that I want a 40-minute deep dive into the affair. Like that's pretty voyeuristic and taking glee in somebody's shit too. Like it does get to the other side of that where he sort of goes, I completely fucked up and I have to live with this, and I don't necessarily like talking about it because it just stirs it up again in the media. I've made a huge mistake. It tore my family apart. I'm so happy to have this young man in my life now. Joseph is amazing. I don't regret Joseph. He's welcome and an amazing part of my family. But now my life is got this, I have all of these successes, but now I have these failures or these mistakes or these things next to me as well. And I have to live with that for the rest of my life. And, it's a good... But like, to a degree, anybody watching this, maybe I'm wrong, is just trying to get to those, let's see if he addresses the bad bits. Because maybe that's just me. Because otherwise it's just like, hey, I was a bodybuilder and I was a very successful bodybuilder, and then I was an actor and I was a very successful actor, and then I was a politician and I was a successful politician. Let's keep going. So, you can look at it that way. Like they broke it into one episode about his bodybuilding career, one episode about his movie career, and one episode about his political career. And I've seen the bodybuilding stuff so much growing up. Being in the army and going AWOL to compete and then winning Junior Mr. Europe or whatever it was. But there's part of me that's like, did you spend 3 years in the army? It was 6 years of Mr. Olympias. So anything interesting happen in Miami over 6 years? Or did you just lift weights day in, day out for 6 years? Was there nothing? No, I don't know what I'm asking. Do you know what I mean? But getting any scrapes, I don't know. I've got some lunatic nights out. You know what I mean? Did you? I don't know. I don't know what I'm asking. But it's it's the 60s and 70s in Miami. Any weird coke stories going on with gangsters?
But the thing is, making a documentary like this and sanitized as it is, it's got to be in service of something.
Oh, it's promo for FUBAR and all of the Schwarzenegger movies they just bought as well to stream. Because they're all on Netflix
even
now as well.
More. I don't know. I feel like there must be even a bigger motivation.
Do you think he's running for something else, or
maybe? I don't know. Why do it otherwise? I just don't know.
75 years of age. He's not running for president.
Does a guy who won at life as much as him, can he let go of having a beef with Trump? Probably not. Probably not.
Do you think he's aiming at...
I don't know.
I mean...
I feel there's more than just
he can't be
TV
president,
show.
But do you think he gets does he become Secretary of State or something?
Can't be president yet.
People are already talking about Trump and Biden getting elected at 75. By the time any sort of law goes in place that lets a foreign-born citizen run for president,
I know, could happen very quickly.
But they do get to the point at the end of it where they talk about the work. They do kind of sum up, and I've heard them talk about this before. If you want to be a movie star, you have to go to the premieres worldwide and make yourself a global presence. And towards the end of it, they refer to him as what he has become as an elder statesman to the world. That he's they've got these clips for the COVID stuff that he's doing and the work he does with various political bodies promoting, I don't know, health and whatever the hell else. But actually, as you say it, I'm like, he actually does pitch himself as a sort of kind of globe-trotting diplomat kind of presence towards the end of it. And it was like, okay, well, second Biden administration or whatever the next... Well, he's a Republican, isn't he? I don't know. I can see him looking for some... Would he want to close out his career working for the White House rather than...
All I know is it's Trump 1, Arnold 0.
Trump 1, Arnold 0. Just because he became president?
He became president, and Arnold tried to do The Apprentice, and it got cancelled. You know?
Yeah.
And that might seem petty, but I imagine he's probably a kind of petty person.
Yeah, I can see it. When he takes an L, he needs to come back from it.
He needs to come back, yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. Why do this documentary otherwise? You know?
Yeah.
Is it really going to drum up a lot more publicity for... Like, it's on Netflix. So you've got a documentary on Netflix to bring up publicity for your show on Netflix.
Well, there's a degree of it at a certain point when you're a family based around a character.
Netflix owns a platform. They can just push the thing at you. They don't need a documentary to promote the show, you know?
But as I say, they're a family kind of built around a character as well. He's got a whole bunch of kids who have vested interest in keeping the family business going. The family business name is Arnold. Does Arnold have a line of, like, can I buy an Arnold weight belt? Can I buy an Arnold protein shake? I feel like I should be able to at this point, right?
Almost definitely, yeah.
Because I know he worked with Joe Weider in the 70s. Joe Weider? Like, I don't know that he gets a cut of that. Anyway, look, watching the promo stuff he's been doing and watching some of Fubar, which is unwatchable, by the way. I got through the second episode. It's painful. It's painful, like, seeing him kind of reduced to this A-team quality dog shit. There's a second episode, there's, a standoff in a field, and it's literally those open top jeeps and lots of gunfire hitting the ground around people, and it's like, oh my god, we're watching the fucking A-team. This is how far we've come in 30 years, I am kind of reminded that, like, I have loved this guy's movies and I've enjoyed this presence my whole life, and whether or not he's got some black marks against him, I just have a nostalgia and an affection for him being on screen. And that's why I was kind of like as bummed as I was when I watched the first episode of Fubar. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. This looks like home movies with Arnold. It's ropey, but sure, that's that. I was also saying I played D&D for the first time last week. I was saying that to Kev. I don't know if you bought the book, right? But did you read it? I
got the beginners thing.
Player's Handbook, is it?
I'm not even sure. I'm not sure what it is. I haven't properly read it. No.
Okay. It was fun. I don't know if you've got to do any of it, but it was fun. And my character died. Which is apparently, like, it's not impossible that your character dies, but it was said to me by the three people that I was playing with, or three of the people that I was playing with, that, like, they hadn't actually seen a new character arrive to an encounter and die within one session before. So yeah, there's that.
Permadeath.
I joked. I think I said this in the last episode as well, but, like, you'll get this. I played Dungeons and Dragons the same way that I play Call of Duty. The first time there was a conflict and my team began to engage with a giant scorpion, I ran as far away as I could and let them handle it. The second conflict, I kind of Leroy Jenkins ran straight into it and caused trouble. Painted myself into a corner. Needed to be revived and then perma died, which is so running for conflict, instigating conflict, needing to be saved, and then perma dying is every round of COD I've ever played for the last 3 years.
True to form.